In the year 2002,
2002. Heady times. The year of a good sequel, a bad sequel, Ben Affleck being considered attractive, and Michael Jackson trying to throw a baby off a roof. And that was 20 years ago. God damn it. When did I get old? Anyway, yeah, so what was some other fascinating thing that happened and where? World Bible School man.
in Cobb County, Georgia.
Cobb County, Georgia. Now, look, I'm not going to say anything bad about the place or anything like that. I am sure it's a fine place to exist. I've just never heard of it, and I've never heard of anything that came out of there either. Maybe that's just my ignorance, or maybe it's not the best place to cite as an example of something important happening.
There was a sticker that was placed on the inside cover of the biology textbooks.
Oh, a sticker happened. Okay, well that's obviously completely fascinating. Thanks.
That sticker simply said that these textbooks contain information on evolution. Evolution is a theory, not a fact, about living organisms, and it should be looked at with an open mind, studied carefully, and critically considered.
Oh, and it wasn't even interesting stuff on the sticker. Like, hey, did you know that whiskey is the best thing ever? And then science in all caps with jazz hands. Instead, it was something extremely stupid. Damn it, Cobb County, I was rooting for you. Because, yeah, no, evolution isn't a theory. Evolution is a fact with a theory that explains it. Every time you say that, I have to ask you if you think gravity is a fact. You'll likely say yes, even though that too has a theory that explains it. It's almost like scientific theory doesn't mean some random fucking guess about the universe.
Do you know, if you were to take the sentiments of that sticker and you were to look at the evidences for evolution with an open mind, and you study them carefully and you critically consider them,
you would find that they do indeed all prove small aspects of the theory of evolution to be true, and also support the other pieces of evidence without contradicting each other, showing that our understanding so far, while not perfect, is pretty gosh darn robust, and anyone saying otherwise probably hasn't looked at any of the evidence for evolution in any way, shape or form.
What you would find is these evidences don't prove evolution at all.
Oh right, of course, we forgot the other important step for World Bible School man. You have to presuppose that the Bible is true and completely literal. Also decide evolution could not be true, and most importantly of all, switch your brain off with a hammer. I always forget that part, mostly because I value my one remaining brain cell far too much to do it dirty like that.
Here are 6 supposed evidences for evolution that simply are not good reasons to believe in evolution.
Awesome! I can't wait to hear them, and how you completely misunderstand how they absolutely are good evidence for evolution, and you're just too damn stupid to understand how or why or possibly even where you are, cause you just wandered onto set and they thought you sounded crazy enough to make a believable creationist.
Number 1, vestigial organs.
This ought to be good, seeing as vestigial organs, or structures as they are more accurately known, are fantastic proof of evolution. And more importantly, craps all over any kind of intelligent design ideas that some kind of total moron might decide to espouse in its place. I mean, seriously, if God-man did the animals for perfectly do, then why the fuck would they have anything in them that they didn't absolutely 100% need to help with those things? It's almost like he didn't.
In 1865, a German anatomist named Robert Wiedersheim said that he discovered 185 different useless or virtually useless organs in the body.
I can just imagine it now. Look at all these useless organs. And they all look suspiciously familiar too.
And he said this was evidence of evolution.
Yeah, almost like it is. And honestly, the only way I can think it was evidence for your deal is that God is a giant lunatic who does whatever the hell he wants. Consequences be damned by him in a very literal way. And honestly, reading the Bible, he does sound like the kind of guy that would do that. I want things this way. Does it in the complete opposite way. Can't believe things turned out different than I wanted. I swear to atheismo, if it turns out that God is real and he's effectively an infinitely powered toddler, I won't be surprised.
In fact, the argument goes that if humans evolved, then they would have had at one time organs that an animal would have used in a certain way, but would no longer be used in that way in the human body, and those organs would begin to atrophy and start to be useless.
You mean like how they do that? What are you talking about, this not being something we would expect with evolution? This is exactly what we would expect. If evolution wasn't true, we would expect perfectly made creatures that have everything working towards the same goal. In fact, your sort for the longest time believed and would tout that supposed perfection of animals in their niches as God's work. So the fact that they aren't perfect does put a damper on that somewhat, to the surprise of no one paying any goddamn attention.
The problem with this vestigial organ idea is that there are two reasons it cannot prove evolution.
So not only is it anti-evolution proof, it's actually double non-proving of the Evolvey boys. Okay, great. Fingers crossed it doesn't turn out that the only doubling will be of the how stupid you sound variety. Oh, what a shame that would be.
Number one, if you did have vestigial organs in your body, that wouldn't prove evolution. You see, evolution has to go from a single-celled organism to a human.
Wait, he's not doing the vestigial structures don't prove evolution because they don't literally prove every single facet of it, therefore God, is he? Fuck, I hope not, because if shit's been silly so far, that's like going to the frickin' moon to do your grocery shopping kinda silly. And, I mean, all they have is cheese. Can't even make good whiskey out of that, I think.
And you don't need organs that are decaying and atrophying. You need evolution to produce new organs.
Oh, okay, that's not what he was saying. He was saying something far dumber. How does he actually manage to do this shit? It's frankly staggering. No, what you need in evolution to evolve is to change. That's it. Now, change could be new organs, but change is also current ones doing a different job. Whether that be them altering their function entirely or them just getting really good at the thing they do already. Would you believe it? A creationist not knowing what evolution is.
We should find wings that are almost ready to allow organisms to fly that can't yet fly.
Are you fucking kidding me? I feel like I'm being pranked right now. You can't possibly be that fucking dense, can you? This is what you're opening with, pretty much, and it's a claim so easily checked that people knew about it before the internet was a thing. There are loads of animals with pseudo-simplified versions of wings that can't quite fly but could with a few changes. First one that comes to mind is like flying squirrels, which of course don't fly but glide. And, what was the other one? Penguins. They have wings, but they don't use them for flight. They use them to swim. But if they changed environment and had some forcing that pushed them towards flight, you're sure as shit gonna find those wings would become actually usable for flying, assuming they survived the selection process. What the hell is actually wrong with you? Do you write these videos without access to the internet? Is that white room the place that they're locking you into so you churn out this dross? Would make sense how you don't know fucking anything about anything.
We should find new visionary optical connections in living organisms that don't have them. We should see things.
I'm sorry, that last sentence didn't even make sense. Don't have them? Don't have what? I'm assuming you mean that there should be things that evolve on their own and then at some random point connect up as fully working things? Is that how you think evolution works? Because that's not even in the same ballpark of how it works. Hell, it's not even the same sport played by the same species in the same goddamn universe. Much like how an organ that no longer serves a purpose gets weaker over time, the ones that do tend to get better. This whole popped out of nowhere idea is not one that any person who understands evolution would ever say. Things popping into existence is a god boy idea though, so I can see why someone as smart as you might think that. And by smart,
adding information, not losing genetic information.
Evolution is not a constant state of things becoming more complex, you damned fool. Again, evolution is change. Both adding and losing information is change. Certain parts can become more complex. Some things can become more simplified and streamlined. If an animal, say, had a bunch of spikes that were no longer needed for protection because its predator died out, but those things snagged, causing them to become stuck and die. Losing them would be a positive step in its evolution, not a loss of information, you idiot.
And the second problem with the vestigial organ argument is that 185 list of vestigial organs, it began to dwindle very rapidly when?
Oh, the dishonesty on display in a very literal way. I mean, vestigial structures can be shown to have functions that we didn't know about. They can also acquire new purpose given a change in environment or diet or whatever. But to posit that there are none is just an out-and-out lie. Even though he didn't say it, it's implied by the image. And even one vestigial structure does not make sense within a creation worldview. Because again, perfect God is perfect. He should never fuck anything up. That's why you need to pretend that they simply don't exist. Shame it is, again, a total fabrication.
When we started looking more closely into them, and it became 180 and then 175 and then...
You think that science becoming more accurate makes science wrong, because that's what it sounds like you're saying. Specific things being proven wrong, like various structures not actually being vestigial, in fact makes all the other sciencing that proves evolution so robustly more betterer. It doesn't magically make them all incorrect. It strengthens all the things that we do know. Also, with this countdown thing you are doing, it stops at such a high number. If it had been, say, 180, 140, 12, minus 25, then maybe you might have had a point about vestigial structures being wrong, but a handful of them? Come on, even you must know how pathetic that sounds, right?
Do you know, as we look more into the body, we realize that those vestigial organs were very useful.
Some of them, I can believe that, but what is the use of wisdom teeth that don't fit in our mouths anymore because human jaws are smaller than they used to be? So instead of being a useful tool for grinding down plant matter, they instead become a mind-shatteringly painful problem that has to be fixed with human technology. Apart from for people who don't have them, and their oh so useful additional data they definitely provide, who go on to have an easier time of things in that specific regard. It sounds much like an evolutionary change to me, and not some sort of loss. Weird.
Many of them extremely useful.
Yeah, that vestigial organ that creationists have. I think it's called a Brian. Well, it turns out that if you aren't born into an idiot family, you can use it to do things like think and reason and come up with ideas and study science to figure out how the world works. But again, if you're a creationist, it can do none of those things. So you can just pop it out and throw it away without affecting the functioning of the creationist. Isn't science grand?
Number 2, the idea of homology.
Homology. Let's define that ourselves, shall we? Because I don't think he's going to do a good job of it. Basically, it's the whole thing about how certain animals have very similar structures and layouts, whilst not being the actual same thing, which demonstrates a similar ancestor because we have found a few of those ancestors that have indeed shown that. They are all very similar while being different enough to show that adaptation happened. Cool. Now, how's that magically not going to be evidence for the thing it's so clearly evidence of for no reason?
We're told that similarity proves ancient ancestry.
No, we aren't taught that. We're taught that it is one piece of evidence in the evidence pile that shows that, and it is one that we would expect to find if evolution were true. And would you look at that, it's what we find because evolution is true. This is you thinking that there's one proof for an idea, and not only is that all you need, it is all you should ever need. But I guess again, that's because of how your Brian works, in that you only have one piece of evidence for your worldview. It's the Bible. And it's right because it says it's right.
And what I simply mean by that is we're told that because humans have similar physical characteristics to certain animals, that proves that they evolved from animals.
Well, obviously you screwed up the explanation. And not just humans, but everything pretty much. There are so many animals that share common features with each other, but also there are groups distinct from other animals that have their own sets of characteristics that they share with each other, but not with everything else, showing that various animals branch off wildly a really, really long time ago. Oh, and guess what? We have evidence for that too.
Well, similarity doesn't prove evolution at all.
On its own, I guess, when you stack all the other things next to it, it is exactly what one expects to find if it were true. Which it again absolutely is. But sure, let's find out how that's not the case, probably because lies and Bibles. The worst brand of cereal there is, mostly because of all the broken glass.
In fact, you could see things that are similar, and you would realize that those similarities are often caused by a common designer.
Except that doesn't work. The second you expand the scope of your looking, like how whales share common features with humans in the hand department when it comes to their flippers, why would any common designer do that? That makes less than 0 sense. Like, I'm sure that there are far better bone structures that could have been used, but instead he reuses the one that he gave for a completely different purpose. What, does he only have so many designs he could have used? All perfect designer is just like, whatever, just stick a hand in there, it'll work good enough. It's like grade school engineering.
Suppose there were a supernatural intelligent designer.
You mean presuppose? That thing you always do. No, that's not how this works. What you do is, you suppose as little as possible, preferably nothing, and then you find evidence, as much of it as you can, and then you follow that evidence as far as it will go, and then you use all the things you learned to make predictions about what and where you will find other things. And as you get better and better at finding more and more evidence, and you just keep following it until it's basically inevitable conclusion, and that's what you'll get. That's what we did. And that's how we know evolution is a fact. What you don't do is say, I know what answer I want. Now all the evidence I see, I'm going to go out of my way to make it fit that conclusion. And if I can't do that, it's fake evidence and I am free to ignore it. That is why creation scientist is such an obvious oxymoron.
And he created a world where many organisms would need to drink the same water, eat the same kinds of food, walk over the same types of terrain.
You basically have to presuppose that creator being to come to any conclusion about why things would end up with certain animals having the same kinds of appendages, and yet others are completely different. Like, seriously, with the evidence alone, God did it is just not the answer anyone would come to.
What would happen? Well, obviously, he would use similarities, similar structures to accomplish his goals.
Why? He's God. He could do whatever the f*** he wants. The fact that we don't see anything taxonomically wildly different from anything else is super weird in God world. And I ain't talking about, oh my God, the duck-billed platypus, this strange. I mean like something with none of the features of anything we have ever seen. That matches not with anything. Also, again, you are forgetting the similar ancestors. Why did they even exist if not for evolution? If God pinged everything into existence as it is, every question presented by your claim makes your claim more and more ridiculous.
Similarity doesn't prove common ancestry. In fact, similarity argues more for a common creator than anything else.
No, it doesn't. You're just saying that because you want it to be true. And when you again line up other evidence, it completely falls apart for your side and it's fine for ours. Because we never assumed evolution was true, we discovered it using that evidence and not just my big book say so.
Supposed evidence for evolution number 3, the fossil record.
Oh God, we're only 1/3 of the way through. F this, if I keep going, we're going to be here all day. And I have some very, very important drinking to do. Let's just leave it here and maybe come back to this another day. Christ.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel, Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the